Gotcha. Kate was a little worried about the weather, so I'm going to ask you again. Are you feeling alive? Yes! Thank you. Thank you. So, on behalf of Kate's parents, John and Sue Lennon, and Neil's parents, Paul and Kathy Roberts, and of course our gracious hosts, Richard and Janet Hornitz, I'd like to welcome you all to the spiritual union of Kate and Neil. And isn't a more opportune time to bring together so many diverse people, of probably most of you are strangers, but what unites us all today is the love that comes together between these two beautiful people. So just take one more look at the beauty that's up here, because one thing that Kate wanted me to do before I weep my eyes out is really slow the whole thing down and try to savor this. So I hope that you don't feel, I hope you allow us to take our time with the ceremony tonight and just really pause and soak in how amazing this is. So just by way of introduction, my name is Miles, and I'm a Buddhist teacher, and I have the pleasure and fortune to meet these two characters about 8 years ago in a class on meditation. And I think, the youth of today are really struggling internally and existentially about finding greater meaning and purpose. And I think when I met Neil and Kate, they were definitely on what's called a hero's journey. If you're familiar with Joseph Campbell, the yearning for a human being to really find purpose, especially in an industrialized age. And so I think it's an incredible fortune for me over the years, 8 of them now, to see both of these human beings so develop themselves and mature themselves so beautifully. You all know how crazy Neil is. And I've had the unbelievable honor and pleasure to watch him really ripen into a very stable man that has a conviction and a purpose and a sense of direction and a sense of altruistic engagement and a true skill and a talent that he's sharing with the world. And it's a true blessing. But you're still crazy. and without Kate, without Kate helping Neil balance his energy out and helping him settle, it would have been much harder for him to find himself in his conviction. And I just ask Kate to continue to help Neil really find as much self-devotion as he has his devotion for his gurus. Neil is getting the better end of this deal. It's my job to make sure his ego doesn't get too big. But in all fairness, I think if you have any sense of the kind of person that Kate is, so beautifully loving. I think everybody in here who's known her has known her in a capacity where she has given you her soul, and touched your life, made your life more meaningful, has taken care of you so beautifully, like a child. A mother does a child. And so I would only ask Neil to help Kate along the way to make sure she has a portion of that love reserved for herself. And because the art of giving and the art of selfless love, it has its bitterness too, when you give it all away. So these two have formed a kind of union that has a little bit of a balancing act, a tightrope to walk. And, I've seen that progress and develop, and that's why you're now where you are today. So the craziness that is the Neil and Kate show is going to express itself here tonight. They asked me to lead a Buddhist ceremony, to which I said, of course. But in our madness, the three of us, the cocktail of our madness, we actually custom designed a ritual that will actually involve all of you. And it's a one-of-a-kind ceremony. You'll never have one of these again. And even if we were in Tibet or in Bhutan right now, a Buddhist wedding wouldn't look like this. Every element has been thought about with such integrity, but it really is kind of an expression of a modern person's will to marry with authenticity and with meaning. and not to be trapped by any kind of cultural bound ritual. So I respect it, and I hope that some of the themes and some of the activities that might happen here today might be unfamiliar to you. But I would just ask you, as your gift to Neil and Kate, to just roll with it. and to bring as much sincerity and as much of yourself into the process. And the structure of the ceremony tonight really, it involves three main themes. And the first one is a spiritual set of principles, if you will, what we would call our high ideals. And the two that are most crucial to Neil and Kate is their wish to be generous and to express gratitude for the amount of abundant giving that they have been the recipients of. And the second one, of course, is the compassionate wish to serve others. And so these two themes will be weaved through the entire ceremony, along with some others. And the second component of the ceremony is really gesture. Okay, you will be involved in a gesture. The bridal party and the groomsmen will be involved in a gesture. Darren and I will be involved in a gesture. And so while we offer something, we're creating, at least in a Buddhist perspective, karma or merit, a kind of energy, if you will. We're each exchanging a kind of energy. And that energy is based on a kind of theme. So you imagine that compassion is the theme, and then energy or the spirit of giving actually manifests that theme. And what you see around you is a virtual cathedral, if you will. Okay, this is all constructed by intentionality. The beauty of the prayer flags, the altar that's here, the little sand mandala that we will create. And we will be passing around a gift that Darren and I will present to Kate and Neil at the end or the apex of the ceremony. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to pass that gift around to each of you. And when you get that little gift, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like you to imbue it with a prayer, with an aspiration, with an authentic sentiment, so that almost like a reliquary, it will house your beauty and your generous gift to them. Okay? And so the other part of the ritual is not only will this item be passed through you and then returned to us to offer to Kate and Neil, but their special friends here will be making or constructing what's called a sand mandala. Everybody say mandala. Mandala. What is a mandala? It's a beautiful little two-dimensional architecture. Okay, it's almost like a blueprint of a palace from the topical view. And you might say, what kind of craziness is that? But if you wanted to create a new civilization, if you wanted to create a new society, if you wanted to create a new building, if you wanted to create a new relationship, you'd have to have an architecture or a roadmap to follow. And the spiritual sentiment that we're going to construct here together with our intentionality and with our energy is really a crucible or a womb out of which this union will take its first step. So while we are going to be presenting sand to this architecture as a symbolic representation, we will all be constructing a womb of conviction out of which Neil and Kate will be sharing their vows and merging as one, as a confluence of two streams. So I hope that's a fantastic idea for you, as it is for me. So we'll begin. How's that so far?
Good.
Great. Awesome. You never know what you're going to get. Why don't we start? Yeah. Go ahead. And just take your time with it, and it'll meander down the rows and come back when it's ready and in good time. So we'll start with a supplication, okay? So just imagine virtually that this is a kind of temple. We've constructed it in such a way to house our intentionality. But we'd like to, why be like sort of, kind of not so generous? Why don't we invite everybody that we know who couldn't actually make it to join us here just with our own intentions? So do imagine, if you will, anybody who's ever moved you in your life, anybody who's ever been there to support you, anybody who's encouraged or drawn out of you the best in you. It may be a mentor, it may be a teacher, it may be a parent, it may be a kid, a friend, somebody from mythology, somebody from spirituality. Just imagine for a second, from the depth of your heart, that you ask them to come and bear witness to this day with us. And Neil has asked us to also remember those who really couldn't make it today. So, is Nana, so Kenya, and Walkie, and Pop, and Kate's Poppy. Imagine that they're all now serving as a kind of force field or firewall around us. In the mandala literature, this is what protects us and seals in, or the kind of like a crucible, all the good intentions, is the witnessing of all the people that have supported us and that loved us. So put on your best virtual reality imagination and just imagine that they're here with us right now. Omahu. And no Buddhist ritual would be complete without a little meditation. But don't worry. We don't have to call it meditation. Why don't we just call it presence? What if we just took 3 minutes to really make sure that the quality of the attention that we bring to this moment is as pristine as possible? And all it would take to really do that is to empty yourselves of any anticipation. And to use as an anchor any sight or sound or smell or taste or touch that's happening right now. And you're free to close your eyes for a second. There's no rush. And you're also free to open your eyes and take in the lush, pristine setting. And then also just do me a favor and just look at the person next to you and behind you. No, doesn't have to be chatting or hellos, just eye contact. And then finally, let's just do some nice deep breaths. Inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. Okay, thank you. So each Neil and Kate has asked one of their compadres to offer a reading. So actually now that we have created a firewall, we've unified our consciousness and emptied, we're going to ask Jill to come up and read something, and this will be the first theme to imbue our sacred space.
Love is at first not anything that needs merging, giving over, and uniting with another. It is a high inducement to the individual to ripen, to become something in himself, to become world for himself and another's sake. The point of marriage is not to create a quick commonality by tearing down all boundaries. On the contrary, a good marriage is one in which each partner appoints the other to be the guardian of his solitude, and thus they show each other the greatest possible trust. A merging of two people is an impossibility, and where it seems to exist, it is a hemming in, a mutual consent that robs one party or both parties of their fullest freedom and development. But once the realization is accepted that even between the closest people, Infinite distances exist. A marvelous living side by side can grow up for them. If they succeed in loving the expanse between them, which gives them the possibility of always seeing each other as a whole and before an immense net.
Thank you, and then this is, Seth's gonna have a few words too.
Usually we imagine that true love will be intensely pleasurable and romantic, full of love and light. In truth, true love is all about work. The poet, Rainer Maria Rilke, Gil just read, wisely observed, like so much else, people have also misunderstood the place of love in life. They have made it into play and pleasure because they thought that play and pleasure was more blissful than work. But there is nothing happier than work, and love, just because it is the extreme happiness, can be nothing else but work. The essence of true love is mutual recognition. Two individuals seeing each other as they really are. When true love happens, individuals usually feel in touch with each other's core identity. Embarking on such a relationship is frightening, precisely because we feel there's no place to hide. We are known. All the ecstasy that we feel emerges as this love nurtures us and challenges us to grow and transform. Most of the time, we think that love means just accepting the other person as they are. Who among us has not learned the hard way that we cannot change someone and mold them and make them into the ideal beloved that we might want them to be? Yet when we commit to true love, we are committed to being changed, to being acted upon by the beloved in a way that enables us to be more fully self-actualized. Love within the context of romantic bonding offers us the unique chance to be transformed in a welcoming, celebratory atmosphere. Without falling in love, we can recognize that moment of mysterious connection between our soul and that of another person's as love's attempt to call us back to our true selves. Intensely connecting with another soul, we are made bold and courageous. Using that fearless will to bond and connect as a catalyst for choosing and committing ourselves to love, we're able to love truly and deeply, to give and receive a love that lasts, a love that is stronger than death. Bell hooks.
Another little pause to take it in. What's the rush, guys? It only happens once, hopefully.
I'm not doing this again.
It's monumental. It's monumental what you two have done. Soak it in, taste it. I don't want to move on just yet. So much work. So much intention. Now we begin with the mandala. So we're going to now proceed to making the sand mandala, which means that while we are going to build or construct the three-dimensional palace with sand, we'll also be building a resonance with themes, all of us together. So the first theme is called the preciousness of human life. So do take a moment. If it helps to close your eyes for a moment, you could do that. The preciousness of human life endowed with liberty and opportunity, is a contemplation that strikes to the heart of what it means to be a human being. Each and every one of us has so much abundance. Intact senses, intelligence, support, health, vitality, an inclination for something spiritual, a good heart. Relative to all the possibilities on the planet right now, we are the extreme lucky ones. Do take a moment to savor that as your gift and as your resonance on this theme. The second theme, on the basis of really appreciating how good we have it, comes the recognition of impermanence. So the minute you savor that you have it, you also recognize it's easily lost. You have no idea what could happen tomorrow. Absolutely not. A young person could die, a healthy person could get sick. Everything that we've ever built, by now we've understood, also fades. And so this recognition is to help us each reprioritize our time, our precious assets, life force, energy, and inclination, so that it's not wasted but maximized with a sense of urgency. Do contemplate for a second. Are you living the way you would if you knew tomorrow would be it? And could you live every day that way? The third contemplation is a contemplation called karma, which we mistakenly often think of as a boomerang. What goes around comes around. But really, the real secret of the karma teaching is the recognition that with our minds and with our intentions and with our words and with our actions, we create our own life. And so the karma teaching is not an excuse to beat yourself up or to feel good that someone who did something nasty to you got theirs. The karma teaching is the recognition that destiny is in your hands. You create your world, and you do it with your intentions and speech and actions now. And so the karma teaching is an incredibly empowering teaching. But with power comes responsibility. So let's just take a moment to make sure that all our thoughts, words, and actions align with the deepest principles that we hold and value. And the fourth contemplation is what's called the joy of letting go. So do kindly try to remember the last time that you discovered or recognized or realized that something that you were thinking, doing, a relationship you had wasn't serving you. And that you might have been asleep at the wheel, and it was biting you in the butt over and over and over again. And then one moment you woke up and you realized this wasn't serving you. And the courage it took to let it go was the dawn of a new day of freedom. And that is a moment of incredible joy, the joy of surrender. Do take a moment to reflect. So thus far, these four contemplations are called the thoughts that turn the mind away from being on automatic, to being a master of your own destiny. The first thought is the preciousness of human life. The second thought is that impermanence comes no matter what, and for all of us. The third thought is the recognition of our own agency and empowerment and responsibility. And the fourth is the joy of letting go. So now let's add some sexiness into the mandala. And let's spice it up a little. So the fifth contemplation then is on love. Now we all have a different definition of love, but do just try to think, who is the most loving person in your life? And the minute you reflect on that, instantly something will happen in your body. It could be a face, it could be a moment in time, it could be a gesture someone showed you. Let it hit you now. Just take a moment, let it hit you. What love means, what love looks like. It's very subtle because right now, whatever it is for you personally, together we are creating that common circuitry, that resonance, almost like a harmonic resonance of love. At least in the Buddhist literature, the love that really counts is what's called unconditional love. That's the love where there isn't any kind of fear or taint or investment in the outcome. It's truly, truly universal and unconditional. The sixth theme is compassion. And I always think about this theme in terms of the ability for the mother to give her body to the child, and her time, and her investment, and her blood, and her nurturance, and her milk. And it's the bounty of thinking so deeply about another person's welfare, their well-being, the sacrifice that it sometimes takes. And in the Tibetan tradition, they like to imagine that compassion that a mother feels for its child could be universalized. It is possible because of our brain, its own development, its potential, that we could share that and have that sentiment for all life. Not just strangers, even difficult ones, even the animals and the creatures and the trees and the planet and the biosphere. So that could be no more important than now that there is a sense of compassion developing on this planet. We'll come to the seventh theme then, which is called joy. So have a little joy as you watch Katya creating the sun mandala over there. So here the theme of joy is actually it's called vicarious joy. It's the ability to enjoy the enjoyments of others as if they were your own. So when you see somebody else light up, your brain is registering it as if it's your own joy. And that's an amazing capacity of a human being to cross boundaries and to be able to step into the shoes of another person. And that means that even if things aren't going so well for you right now, if you see somebody who's having a good time or a great moment or a success, it could be yours. And then if we started thinking that way, there would be no shortage. There would be no shortage. Your great moment could be my great moment. We could do a Bitcoin of good moments. There'd be no kind of like restriction. Beautiful. And the last theme is called equanimity. just like a kind of Zen veneer where everything is all chill, man. That's not what equanimity is. Equanimity is defined as the full feeling of all your spectrum of emotions, but having the self-mastery not to react, but be able to choose how you're going to respond. How sick is that? And honestly, when you ask Kate and Neil about their personal practice, about half of it, really, their internal practice, is really about that level of self-mastery. It's really about not being hollowed out, but being able to feel fully. And they both feel really fully. But they're also learning how to ride their feelings and to discern which ones they want to follow and which ones they want to restrain. And that's emblematic of a master. So those are our 8 contemplations. So let's take another moment to drink it in. Are we ready, guys? So let's imagine that everybody's participated in that resonance field and we've constructed our mandala together. So now I'd like for you guys to come a little closer. And in the center of the mandala is the divine throne. Okay? And this is where the deity sits. And sometimes in Indian iconography, the deity is actually in what's called yab yum. That's a consort, a master and a consort in union. So that's what we're imagining right now as these 2 bodhisattvas exchange their vows in the inner sanctum of the mandala. Song first. Take it away.
So this, that we're about to read is a poem that a meditator who'd spent years in retreat getting to know his mind spontaneously sang when he came out of retreat. Caitlin and I are going to go back and forth as a reminder and as a check-in to be here now.
And also because making up songs is one of the things that we do all the time.
We make up songs all the time. That's kind of our thing.
So this is called Free and Easy, a spontaneous Vajra song. Happiness cannot be found through great effort and willpower, but is already present in open relaxation and letting go.
Don't strain yourself. There's nothing to do or undo. Whatever momentarily arises in the body-mind has no real importance at all, has little reality whatsoever. Why identify with and become attached to it, passing judgment upon it and ourselves?
Far better to simply let the entire game happen on its own, springing up and falling back like waves, without changing or manipulating anything, and notice how everything vanishes and reappears magically, again and again, time without end.
Only our searching for happiness prevents us from seeing it. It's like a vivid rainbow, which you pursue without ever catching, or a dog chasing its own tail. Although peace and happiness do not exist as an actual thing or place, it's always available and accompanies you every instant.
Don't believe in the reality of good and bad experiences. They are like today's ephemeral weather. Like rainbows in the sky. Wanting to grasp the ungraspable, you exhaust yourself in vain. As soon as you open and relax this tight fist of grasping, infinite space is there, open, inviting, and comforting.
Make use of this spaciousness, this freedom and natural ease. Don't search any further looking for the great awakened elephant who is already resting quietly at home in front of your own hearth.
Nothing to do or undo, nothing to force, nothing to want, and nothing missing.
amazing,
Marvelous.
Everything happens by itself.
Who's going first? I recognized you the first moment we met in that hallway of Grand. It felt like running into a very old friend, and I was really eager to pick back up where we left off right away. You took a little longer to get on board. but our bond was immediate and ignited a journey of opening, discovery, and growth that has been the adventure and greatest honor of my life to share with you. You have taught me how to love myself through your quiet, enduring, absolutely unconditional love and presence. You have shared with me the tools that you have sought out yourself, tools that have in many ways saved my life and freed me from pain and struggle. You have consciously and fearlessly nourished all of the most essential, indestructible parts of me. Your presence in my life has been like turning on a light, your pure heart illuminating and warming my heart and cooling and refreshing my mind. Your goodness connects me to a sense of childlike joy and wonder. Your steady care and support has given me the courage to do things I never thought possible. You have been so incredibly kind to me. I admire you so much. It is my greatest joy to make these vows to you. I will always practice kindness toward you and all beings so that the world you live in is a kinder, gentler place. I will support your spiritual growth at all times, no matter how difficult it may be. I will challenge you lovingly and remain patient and steady while you go through periods of transformation, providing you space and a safe refuge for you to explore your consciousness, mind, and spirit. I will walk beside you to share the load and carry the load when it gets too heavy. I will continue my own growth and development, facing the scary places as well as the joyful, so that I can bring home to you the wisdom I gather. I will treat you with humanity and respect, no matter what. I will practice presence with you. I will practice stillness with you. I will dance with you. I will make you laugh and laugh with you. I will love and care for your family. I will expand and support our community with you. I will remind you of your goodness in the world. I will reflect back to you your perfect heart. I will grow with and for you. I will hold you in non-judgmental awareness. I will be your partner in all ways in this life and in whatever comes next. I will extend the wealth of love and generosity you've offered me out into this world as I stand honored to call you my husband and my best friend.
Caitlin. Year after year, we have let difficulty transform us. The foundation of our partnership has always been based on composting our sadness, fear, and insecurity to create the fertile soil of humor, gentleness, and love. In all the time I've known you, you've never actually been cruel or ever tried to hurt me, which has built an unshakable trust. I met you at a moment where I had begun to harden, and I didn't have any confidence in which way to turn. And then your love appeared and saved me from wandering alone in the desert. At first I was convinced that you were a mirage. I thought that it was too good to be true, but your immovable heart allowed me to see you as an expression of all that is real and good in this world. We were made through love and sustained through love. A love that kept us bound together long enough to realize that we've never been separate. I vow to always ease your pain in any way that I can. I vow to bring joyful, absurd silliness into your life. I vow not to bottle up unexpressed feelings that could manifest as anger in a moment of weakness. I vow to tirelessly tread the path of self-discovery and heart-opening in order to expand my capacity to give you the gift of presence through all the joys and sorrows of this life. Recognizing that nothing stays the same even for an instant, I vow to adapt to change and be unshakable amongst the waves. It will be the greatest honor of my life to grow old and weird with you.
What were you gonna do otherwise? Let's drink that in a second. And while we're drinking that in, if that little symbolic gift is somewhere, I'd love that to come this way. Those of you that didn't get a chance to bless it, you can bless it once it's unveiled. Actually, let's have the parents bless it. Nobody's in any rush, right?
I'm a little cold. Ready? Mentally. Ready? Slow and higher. Hold it. So, this gift came from Nepal. It's been blessed and picked out, selected by Neil and Kate's teacher in Nepal. So what, actually, if I can unwind it. It's 3 PhDs for one. So today is an auspicious day in the Tibetan calendar. It marks the birthday of Guru Rinpoche. Guru Rinpoche is the emanation of a Buddha, the founder of Tibetan Buddhism. And what it represents to Neil and Kate now going forward is the reliquary or container of all of your blessings. So every time they meditate,
when they make offerings on the altar going forward, they're going to remember all of you. And they're going to feel everything that you put inside this. So thank you so much, everyone, for all your blessings and all your love. Head forwards, head. Head. So by the power invested in me by the state of Vermont, but through my lineage from His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Robert Thurman, Joe Luizzo, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that are with us, all our relatives, all our friends, all living beings who are here as witness for this spiritual union, four heads together. Imahu, Umahu. I now pronounce you both. Wife and husband. Nectar is dripping down each of your crown chakras.